So the original opening shot was a very different building. We shot it in Stanford, but we couldn't use this because the building didn't fit in with the way the room looked or the way the entire UCF campus looked where the rest of the chase was. So we had to redo it. And then when we redid it the first time. When it pans up to Drew in the actual footage, I guess because of the reflections, he looks more like an ape than a man, so we had to replace him. For the remote scene, we had taken the introduction of Gagne as a static take, just in case the dolly didn't work. And there were also two dollies that pushed in on both faces of the main characters that weren't used. Then there was a profile shot of Gagne that quick panned over to reveal the gun that is now pointing at him. Now, the laptop insert had to be done a couple of times due to lighting situations. We did it mostly in our kitchen, so we have two deleted shots there. In the secretary scene, there were a couple close-ups of Gagne that weren't used. And then there was a really wide take that was taken of the entire thing, and then that panned to show Gagne walking away. Originally, Ben Piety was supposed to be guard number 3, and then Diego Kontorovsky was supposed to be guard number 4. So we shot a bunch of takes of that, but then we realized that it would be better having Diego come out first. Originally, when we first did the explosion shot of the building, there were a couple layers that were not put into the end yet, and the background was revealed a little too much, so we then revisited that and added those in. Originally, the checkpoint on the garage that they first have to be stopped at, where the guards are, was supposed to be physical structures that were on the floor of the garage. But we couldn't really motion track those correctly, that we were having so much trouble, so we abandoned that, and what you see in the film are the signs. On top of the garage, after the guards are first shown pointing their guns, Lindsay turns around to Gagne and says, "What do we do? They're everywhere." Well, that line was cut because they're not everywhere. Originally, there were supposed to be 4 guards, but on the set we only had 2.
What do we do? They're everywhere.
Now, there were a lot of shots and a lot of parts of shots in the car scene of just the cars going and the machine guns shooting and Gagne shooting. And then there were also a lot of shots where Gagne is just in the back seat and he gets ready to go out of the car and shoot. So there were a lot of those that ended up being deleted. In the car chase scene, there's a shot that goes from Lindsay to Gagne where during the pan my elbow had gotten into the frame. So likewise we had to scale that up very much and the noise got very large. So we tried replacing that with another take and we did all the work for it, but then we ended up taking it out because the original take was better and we revisited that and made that much better. When the car smashes into the pole, the next time you see Gagne's car, it's supposed to come to, originally it came to a gradual stop, but we ended up deleting that because we ended up reworking that entire sequence anyway. Our first stab at the shot where you're looking through the flames at the wreckage of the car had the fire, while it was the same fire, it was blurred differently, it was positioned differently in front. So the helicopter scene had a few shots that ended up being reworked. The original helicopter reveal was originally much wider, but we decided to go more close to give more of an impact. Also, there was a shot that was just completely deleted of the helicopter in motion. It was a fairly close shot. And then one of the shots where the CG poles are seen, we decided to rework that a little bit. Originally, the poles were a lot bluer and they did not have a reflection pass, so we then rendered out a reflection pass and made them look much more white. Now, the shot where the car drives past and there's a pan, and Gagne has the umbrella and he's sticking out of the car going to throw it. That in the film was a composite umbrella. But there was a take on the set where he actually did have the umbrella in his hand. But we didn't want to use that because the framing wasn't as good during the pan. Then there was another take where it was wider and it was meant to tilt up to the helicopter, but we ended up not using this. The last shot of the helicopter scene when they drive off into the sunset, or the approaching sunset, was originally slightly different. It was taken from the same footage, but there were a lot more poles in the shot. We ended up taking out a lot of the poles because they looked kind of distracting. We also reworked the lens flare position, as well as the sky replacement was changed a little bit. For the original rendezvous scene in December, when we originally shot it, there were alternate takes that just weren't used. Also, Pat had a take where he said, "Who the hell is this?" instead of "and who's this?"
Who the hell's this?
We've got a plane to catch. Here, you drive.
Then at the end, we had a shot that ended up not being used of all of them getting in the car. Gagne comes into the frame, and he's wearing the old under-the-gun vest. Because originally that was what he was supposed to be wearing for the entire movie, but then when the remote scene was added early in production, we decided, well, he has to be in a suit. So then, that was actually the first Gagne footage that was shot. Then we reshot most of the entire thing in April with the stand-ins. All of that stuff wasn't used. There was overhead stuff, and then there were shots of Gagne looking through Christie standing in for Trinae.
See, I did disappoint you. We'll meet you there.
Then in May, we reshot a couple of Gagne's angles in Stamford. They weren't used. The first shot of the scene was originally entirely different. We had put it together. It just had a lot more elements, and we ended up redoing this using the whole sunset Stamford thing. The first cut of the film, the one that we gave to our composer, had some slight differences in it. First off, Pedro's introduction had slightly different pacing to it. The cut was different, and we were using different dubbing. We later would go in and replace that. Also, the car explosion and the helicopter explosion, those entire sequences are completely different in the first cut. They're much shorter, and then the resulting transition into the dialogue scenes are much longer.
No, Barbara, I'm telling you, I'm not getting paid enough to sacrifice my personal life. Vacation time. All I want is some vacation time. Is that too much to ask? I swear to God, my life is so fucking...
Close your door. What's your name?
Who the hell are you?